Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, none of that. Today I'm doing a tag video. It's the favourite things tag. I was tagged to do this by the legendary Steve Donoghue, and it's one of those tags it's not really a book related tag, it's just more of a getting to know you tag. So given that my channel's fairly new, it felt like a sensible thing to do. So yeah, there's 16 questions I think, or 15 questions, and then the final one is who do you tag. So I will go through them. I've done a bit of thinking about it, and I don't have answers for some of the questions, because it's like, what's your favourite random thing? Some of them I really struggle with. Some of them I struggled with and came up with an answer. Some of them I struggled with and didn't come up with an answer. So we'll see how we get on. So the tag was created originally by Tori from Hufflepuff Discovery, and then it was further adapted by Cruel Reader's Thesis. So I'll put links to both of those in the description, as well as a link to Steve's channel and any of the other channels that I mention as we go through. Right, so let's get on to the questions, and apologies if I keep looking down, but I'm going to have to keep referring to them because there's no way I can remember 15 questions. So first question, who is your favourite musician or band? So I went back and forth on this one. If you asked me who my 3 favourite musicians or bands were, I could answer easily. If you ask me for just one, I think I'm going to go with the Velvet Underground. So they're kind of alternative progressive rock group from the late 60s. Fronted by Lou Reed, just I think fantastically creative band. You know, produced really 4 main studio albums, each of which is completely different from the other ones. They've got, you know, kind of proto-punk stuff in there. They've got some very lyrical acoustic stuff. I just think they're wonderful. Hugely influential, obviously, on, you know, on rock and roll and punk and things like that followed them. So yeah, definitely my favourite band, and have been, you know, a favourite of mine since I was in my teens. So yeah, absolutely love the Velvet Underground. Close contender for, you know, for the top spot in terms of favourite musician will be Tom Waits, who again I think is, you know, massively varied in the stuff he does, from again, you know, very gentle acoustic type stuff to really crazy noisy stuff where he's banging dustbins and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm a huge Tom Waits fan as well. Obviously his output is significantly bigger than the Velvet Underground, so a lot of stuff to choose from there. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Velvet Underground for that one. Okay, next one, what are your 3 favourite films? So again, I really struggled to narrow this down to 3 because there's just so many films that I love. Albeit I find as I get older, I'm finding less and less time to watch films. I find if I sit down, if I go to the cinema, obviously I'm fine, but if I sit down to watch a film at home, unless I'm watching it with the family, I often lose interest and end up picking up a book instead. But anyway, my 3 favourites are all older films. Well, I say older, they don't seem that old to me, but they may seem older to the youngsters who watch YouTube. So they're all films from the 80s, which obviously was the greatest decade for film. Coincidentally, it was the decade when I was a teenager. So those are Day of the Dead, so the 3rd film in George Romero's phenomenal Living Dead series. Day of the Dead is my favourite of the series. I think it's just such a great film, incredibly tightly plotted and filmed, incredibly gory, you know, fantastic special effects from the K&B effects group. I just think it's an amazing film, and it's a film I can watch again and again and again, and it really feels like the evolution of Romero's ideas about you know, zombies and their impact on society. I think it's a classic. Second one then would be from I think 2 years later. So Day of the Dead came out in 85. 2 years later, in 87, the phenomenal action classic Robocop. I can't say enough about how much I love Robocop. I think it's, you know, it's brilliant as an action movie. You know, Paul Verhoeven is a great action director. Also, you know, wonderful satire. I love all the, you know, the news clips and the adverts in there. And it's also, you know, it's kind of heartwarming as well in terms of, you know, Murphy's voyage of discovery after he becomes Robocop to, you know, to rediscover who he is. And also, you know, incredibly dark and gory and brutal, which are all things I like in films. So yeah, Robocop, definitely another one of my top 3. And then the final one, so splitting the difference between 1985 and 1987 from 1986, we've got David Lynch's Blue Velvet. So I'm a big fan of Lynch, but particularly his earlier films. I really like Eraserhead as well. I think Blue Velvet is just an absolute masterpiece. A bit like Robocop, it's one of those films that takes takes plot devices and things like that from more traditional films, and then, you know, twists them and does incredible things with them. So I think, you know, it's got fantastic use of music, some phenomenal acting. You know, Isabella Rossellini is great. Dennis Hopper obviously is absolutely off the charts in that film, and I think the character he plays, Frank Booth, is one of my favourite characters in cinema ever. He's so dark, so twisted, but so convincing as well in terms of, you know, his absolute craziness. And even Carl McLachlan, who's kind of wooden, is wooden in quite an interesting and appropriate way for the film, I think. So yeah, I absolutely love Blue Velvet. Okay, next question. So now we're getting into the questions where I struggle to answer them, not because I had too many options to choose from, but because it's something I've never really thought about. So the next question is, what's your favourite scent? And I've just written down orange. So I like that kind of fresh, citrusy kind of smell, but I don't know really. It's not something I've ever given any thought to. There are some smells that are nice and there are some smells that aren't nice. I guess I also like the kind of malty smell that you get when you walk past a brewery. That would be another one, even though I don't drink. That's a pleasant kind of warming smell. So yeah, I'm not really sure on that one. Next question. What's your favourite Disney film? Oh, I fell down a complete rabbit hole on this and ended up like Googling a list of all the Disney films. And then I started asking myself, what's a Disney film? You know, when we say what's your favourite Disney film, do we mean what's your favourite animated film that was produced solely by the Walt Disney Corporation? Or do you mean, you know, do you include live action Disney films in that? Do you include co-productions? So, you know, the Pixar films in scope. They did quite a few, excuse me, I'll get my words out. They did some co-productions with Studio Ghibli as well. So like Spirited Away was a co-production with Disney, and I love Spirited Away. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could narrow it down in that it's probably a Disney film or Disney/Pixar film from, you know, the last 10 years or so, because during that period, you know, my son is 13 now, so he was growing up, so I watched loads of Disney films and Pixar films with him, you know, as he grew up, and I've got many very happy memories of watching them with him. So I guess, you know, Wall-E is one, I suppose, that springs to mind, and I think it's you know, an interesting sci-fi film. It's very heartwarming. It's, you know, beautifully animated, and it's got some interesting kind of satire in it as well. Big Hero 6, again, I thought was a really fun one. But honestly, I don't know. A film that's got Disney in the credits somewhere is my favourite Disney film. I do really like the songs in Frozen as well, if that helps. Okay, next one, another one I just struggle with, even though there's only 4 choices. What's your favourite season? I don't know. I don't like, so winter is definitely my least favourite season, because it's cold and the weather gets in the way of doing stuff. So I'm going to say my favourite season is spring, because it's the one that means that winter's finished. And it, you know, new life, rebirth, all that good stuff. Right, next one. What's your favourite seasonal drink? I don't know. What's a seasonal drink? By seasonal, do we mean Christmas? In which case I don't have one. Or do we mean, you know, drink that's to do with the season. I don't know, maybe a nice cold glass of lemonade in the summer. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either, I'm afraid. Okay, moving on. This is also going to be a bad answer. Do you have a favourite shirt or article of clothing? No, I don't. If I could be, my dream wardrobe is probably similar to Jeff Goldblum's wardrobe in The Fly, in that it's just the same outfit again and again and again. I don't really think about clothes too much. So yeah, if I could just wear the same thing every day, I'd probably be quite happy with that. Having said that, the t-shirt I'm wearing today, this blue one, which I think is quite a nice shade of blue, and it's a nice soft, kind of cotton as well. I got this recently, so I suffer, I don't know if suffer's the right word. I have quite a long body, so I'm about 6 foot tall, but most of my height is in my body. My legs actually aren't that long. So I struggle with t-shirts because they often come up too short on me, and I end up, they're kind of fine if I'm just standing up, but when I sit down or whatever, they ride up, and in an unpleasant way, and people get a view of my belly, which they really don't want. Whereas I found these t-shirts recently, which are a bit longer, from Marks and Spencer's. Other clothes retailers are available, and I really like them. They fit me very nicely. So I'll go with this t-shirt that I'm wearing because I like the colour and it's a good fit. Okay, what's next? Okay, right, here's one I can answer. Okay, who's your favourite author? Ed McBain. So Ed McBain, which was a pseudonym, so it was a pseudonym for Evan Hunter, who was born as Salvatore Lombino, so a few different names there, all referring to the same guy. He did write under other pseudonyms as well. So as Evan Hunter, he wrote a number of kind of more serious novels, I guess, the most famous of which was The Blackboard Jungle. He also wrote the screenplay for Hitchcock's The Birds, as Evan Hunter, which I think is a great screenplay, even if the film does have some odd moments, including most of the ones with Tippi Hedren. But as Ed McBain, he wrote my absolute, no question, favourite series of books of all time, the 87th Precinct Mysteries, so 55 police procedural novels about a police precinct and the detectives that work there in a fictional American city, which is probably supposed to be New York. And they're just phenomenal mystery novels, absolutely brilliant. I've mentioned them in my videos many times before, and my pick for one, Plagued by Visions' collaboration video on Most Disturbing Books was an Ed McBain book from the 87th Precinct series. So yeah, easy question for me, it's definitely Ed McBain. Right, next one. Do you have a favourite spot for reading or writing? Yes, actually I can answer this one as well. So I really like, there's a particular spot in my back garden, which I won't show you because it's cold and wet and horrible outside. But there's a particular spot kind of at the top corner of the garden where, particularly in the summer, on a weekend morning, I will make myself a cup of tea and go and sit on the bench we have there and happily read for a couple of hours. It gets the morning sun, so it's nice and warm, even on a slightly chillier day. As the sun comes, well, the sun's already up when I start reading, or I'm going to see, but as the sun continues to weave its arc through the sky and warms me up, I'm happily sitting there reading my book. That's definitely my favourite reading spot. In terms of writing, so it's not something I've really talked about on BookTube before, but I did used to write quite a lot as well, and published or self-published a few books about 7 or 8 years ago, I suppose it was now. And my favourite writing spot was literally wherever I was. So the first novel I wrote mostly when I was walking to work on my phone, because I found, for me, when I was writing, and I'm not writing anymore, when I was writing, I just had to get the words out as quickly as possible. So I would write wherever I was, including walking to work. Okay, next question. What's your favourite food or dessert? It seemed a strange question because I'm fairly sure that a dessert is a type of food. Certainly if you're eating things as a dessert that aren't food, then you're doing something wrong. For me, I think, again, this is one I thought about quite a bit and tossed up a few different ideas, but I think it's probably a decent cheese board. So, some nice cheese biscuits and a good variety of different cheeses, particularly, I definitely have to have in there a Stilton or something like that, so something that's really got a bit of punch, a nice cheddar, and a decent soft cheese, so maybe a brie or something like that. But you know, left out for a bit to get to room temperature before you eat them, so you really get the stinky flavour of them. So yeah, I think cheese and biscuits would be my pick for that. It's something I try not to eat too often because obviously it's packed with saturated fat, but I do like a bit of cheese and biscuits. Favourite time of day, so definitely morning. So I'm very much a morning person. Whether I'm working or not, I'm usually awake by kind of 6, half 6 in the morning, and I find I'm most focused, I suppose, in the morning as the day goes on, and I've got more and more things in my brain to think about. My thinking gets a bit jumbled, but first thing in the morning, I'm a bit sharper, so you know, quite enjoy. And I'm someone who really needs routine. And you know, I have a nice morning routine. Get up, do a bit of exercise, listen to the news, have a cup of tea, you know, flick through my social media on my phone, maybe do a bit of reading before I start work. So yeah, definitely morning for me. Okay, next one. So I've had a bit of a run here of ones that I was pretty good at answering. Next one, I'm not going to be very good at answering. What's your favourite colour? I don't know. It's probably green. My phone is green, so the phone that I'm filming this on now is green, so I guess that suggests I quite like green. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with green. I've got a green watch strap on today as well, so there you go. Definitely green. And I'm also looking at a nice green Christmas tree. So we've got our Christmas tree up. I'll put some footage up so you can enjoy our Christmas tree, which looks very, very pretty, and it's green. Okay, next one. Who are your top 3 favourite YouTube channels? So I've deliberately gone here with non-bookie YouTube channels, because to be honest with you, it's only fairly recently, that I started watching BookTube. And prior to that, I wasn't watching YouTube that much, but when I was watching different stuff, primarily gadgety type stuff. So you know, I'm quite into gadgets and things like that. So and you'll see that in my top 3. So my top 3 are, so first one is The Verge. So The Verge YouTube channel, they don't actually put that much content up, but their website is absolutely fantastic. So it's a tech-focused website that talks a lot about stuff that's happening in the tech industry, but also, you know, has lots of gadget reviews and stuff like that, which I love reading and love watching their videos. And certainly whenever I'm considering a new purchase of a technical, you know, a techie product, I will always check out The Verge's videos and website before I make a decision on what to buy, because their recommendations and reviews are always spot on. And also they do a fantastic job of covering tech in a broader sense in terms of its impact on society and things like that. And they do a weekly podcast, which I listen to every week, which is absolutely brilliant. Next one then, so also in the tech space, is Marques Brownlee, who again is a fantastic tech reviewer, so focusing much more on the kind of gadget review side of things, but does really in-depth reviews, and the videos are absolutely beautifully produced as well. You know, he does an absolutely fantastic job. And then the final one, I wasn't really sure where to go with the final one, so I'm going with, again, somebody who doesn't put out much stuff at all, but everything he does put out is brilliant, and that's Cassette Boy. So probably someone who's better known in the UK than internationally, but he does basically, I'm trying to think how to describe it. You'll have to check out the channel to really understand what I'm going to say, I think. But they are parodies of songs that use clips of politicians speaking. So he will create a new parody version of a popular song, so he uses the music from the song, but does the videos purely with very cleverly edited clips of politicians speaking to get the message across. And they're very funny, very satirical, and you know, politically generally spot on. So lots and lots of Boris Johnson ones. I'm hoping he'll do one soon on Boris Johnson's current problems, which I'm getting a great deal of schadenfreude out of. Okay, next one. What's your favourite musical or play? Again, actually, I thought this one might be one I struggled with, but actually I did okay. So I really like musicals. I really enjoy the energy, the cinematic energy in a musical. you know, the movement and the colour and the music. I think music's incredibly important in film, and musicals are brilliant. And the other thing I love about musicals is that kind of slightly surreal sense in a musical of, you know, everyone stopping to sing a song. I think that's a really wonderful thing, and it's quite magical. My favourite one, I think, going with the kind of horror theme of my channel, is Little Shop of Horrors, which I saw when it came out. I think I saw it in the cinema actually in the 80s, and I just think it's a wonderful musical film. Great songs, I absolutely love the songs. Great casting as well. I think Ellen Green is brilliant in it as Audrey, and Rick Moranis is just fantastic as Seymour, and you know, also great special effects. So you know, the Audrey 2 puppet and Levi Stubbs doing the voice is just a wonderful combination. So yeah, definitely Little Shop of Horrors. And I watched it probably, I think it was during lockdown. I think I watched it with my son, and he really loved it as well. So yeah, fantastic musical film, and if you're a musical fan and a horror fan, or both, and haven't seen it, you definitely should. Okay, we're nearly there. I'm getting through it. Right, next one. What's your favourite place you've visited? So this one I really did struggle with a bit. I think it's a Scottish village called Pittenweem. So there's a bit of a family connection there, in that my mother-in-law comes from Pittenweem, and I've visited there a few times with my wife to go up and see family up there. So it's a lovely village in Fife in Scotland. You know, on the coast, obviously it's a fishing village, so there's a little harbour there. It's very hilly, and just wonderfully picturesque. So you know, the sea is beautiful there, but also you've got the kind of slightly desolate, you know, kind of moorland and things like that behind it. So yeah, it's a lovely little place. Strongly recommended. It's got a lovely kind of community atmosphere to it as well. So yeah, definitely Pittenweem in Scotland. Okay, that was all the questions, apart from the final one, which is who do you tag? So I thought a bit about this, and I'm going to tag three booktubers. So the first one is Michael K. Vaughan, because I know he loves doing a tag video. And I'll be interested to hear whether he does a better job than me of answering these questions. Secondly, I'm going to go with Duncan McCurdy, whose channel I've really been enjoying recently. And thirdly, another person who I know enjoys doing a tag, which is David Wiley, who again has got a fantastic channel. So do check all three of those guys out. That's it. I did all the questions. Well, semi. I think some of them I probably only semi did. But anyway, I hope you found that interesting. It was very waffly, as my videos tend to be, but hey, that's my brand, I guess. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you're all safe and well, and I will speak to you soon in a future video. Cheerio.